Hello there. Welcome back to Average Home Theater. I'm Nelson, and joining me from his house in what is it, Katy, Texas,
Katy,
is
Texas, the promised land.
is is the prestigious, just I can't find the words for a better guest than Mr. Dominic here. Um,
Oh,
yeah, hey, high compliments. There you go.
I appreciate that, man. I love being a
So,
guest on the Average Home Theater.
oh yeah, yeah. Well, this Average Home Theater, not the fake one. Since
I-
we found another channel called Average Home Theater. um he started his channel almost 2 years after I started this one, so there's no question who came first.
right,
And I'm not gonna say he stole it, but anyway, moving on. The real Average Home Theater.
right. I guess that's a
S-
mark of being successful when you have copycats.
yeah, I mean, I don't even have 200 subscribers and this dude's perpetrating. But anyway, so like, subscribe, tell your friends. um
hmm
So we're gonna go ahead and wrap up our Planet of the Apes trilogy, so we can get ready for Kingdom, which comes out
hmm
next Friday, May 10th. Um, I'm pretty excited for it. So it's like, life moves so fast, and before we know it, it's like, holy crap, it's here. So, um, yeah, are y'all gonna go watch it next Friday?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And I'm glad it's coming out next Friday because I'll be a little busy this weekend, but the next weekend will be perfect.
Yeah,
So,
kind of same here because it's Saturday's May the 4th. So everybody and
right,
their grandma wants the 501st somewhere. So I'm going to be doing
right.
three different troops on Saturday, like back to back to back. So Saturday is going,
Wow.
yeah. So I won't be able to move after that. Sunday is going to be the Lord's Day, a true day of rest for me.
Right.
So, but anyway, so let's
Wow.
let's let's go ahead and get started with this. So you were saying off camera that you haven't
hmm
really seen this one all that much, and I'm kind of the same. I've only watched it. This is maybe the third time that I watched it.
Right. I mean, this was almost a new watch for me because I saw it in the theater, and then I believe I watched it shortly after when the 4K came out. But I mean, I didn't
And
realize it's been what, like 7 years?
yeah, it came out in 2017.
26. I could have
Yep.
sworn it was a three years ago, maybe four. I
Oh
cannot
no,
believe it's been almost a decade.
yep, it's been out a little while, and we were due for another one. So, I don't
Right.
mind. I don't want to wait forever for a sequel, okay? But kind of the way they do things now, they want to put them out like every other year, and it's almost like that's too fast. You need a good 3 or 4
I
years
agree.
in between because you want to kind of you want the anticipation, and it kind of goes the same with TV series. Like, I love to binge, but it also doesn't have the same effect as when you have to wait for a week. And
Absolutely.
it works better for people like us because if you, let's say, you like, whenever producer Nick and I did The Last of Us, we were able to do a weekly show on the audio podcast because we had a whole week to do it, to discuss
hmm
and predict what was going to happen next, type thing.
Right.
So anyway, getting back to this, I'm glad that it's been a few years, and I want to say in between, what was 3 years, because I think it was 2014 maybe before this one was Dawn, something like that.
That sounds right. So it was about 3 years between
Dawn and
Dawn
this one.
and War. But then obviously there's been a longer wait from War to this one. With it, uh, Matt Reeves doing other projects, and this one they kind of could have ended it here if they wanted to. It kind of has a definitive end and a new beginning, um, but kind of has both, right? A definitive end, but also room for more because it starts a whole new beginning.
Yeah. So anyway, I guess the reason why this one is the least watched is because it's my least favorite out of these three, for a couple of reasons, not just the way it
Mm-hmm.
ends, but I think the movie as a whole, I mean, it's 2 hours and 20 minutes long. So I think it's a little
It is
long in the
long.
tooth. I don't mind a long movie, but this one kind of feels like it overstays its welcome just a little bit. You know, they could have trimmed off 15, 20 minutes. 2 hours would have been, I think, fine for this one.
Right. And this is interesting. I didn't know I'd feel this way. I like it. I like it so much more at this watch. I don't know if I had to live a little more, if I needed distance from it or
Mm-hmm.
what, but I liked it more. Like I always thought it was okay, but when I
Mm-hmm.
watched it this time, I was like, I'll give you a perfect example. I started it uh like, a week and a half ago. I started watching it and I got about 30 minutes in, 40 minutes in, life got in the way. I came back to it and I was going to jump to where I was, but it started playing from the beginning and I watched the beginning again. So this one pulled me in, man. I don't know if I had low expectations because I always just thought it was all right.
Yeah, it could be.
But no,
You were like, well, this one is not really my favorite, but I'm gonna
yeah,
watch it because we're gonna do the review, and then you were kind of
yeah,
surprised.
I was almost kind of like, what was I thinking? I dug it this time. I don't know what
Yeah,
it
no,
was,
like
but
I always liked it, but it's my least
yeah,
favorite of the three, and then, which is why it's the least watched. And I think it's like I
right.
said, I think it's a little too long to just. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, when you're talking about 2.5 hours, like that's an
Right.
investment, right? I mean, trying to
Mm-hmm.
watch that during the week is almost impossible unless you want to be really
Right.
tired. I mean, I'm old.
That's why I kind of had to
Um,
break it up. Yeah.
yeah, and then on the weekends, there's always so many things going on that I want to watch new stuff, and
Right.
it's hard to fit a 2.5 hour movie that is just not quite your favorite to just
Right.
put that in anytime. So all those factors go into, I guess, why I don't watch it as much. But anyway, so getting to the movie, it starts
Yeah.
out where you see soldiers, right, approaching
Mm-hmm.
the where you realize they're approaching the apes camp. And it was kind of neat the way they show, like it starts off, they show the back of the soldiers and like they have different things written on their helmets and the
I
back,
loved that.
it was very Vietnam-esque, you know.
Yes.
Um, so that was kind
It's
of
my
neat to
favorite
see.
opening. It's my favorite opening of the three, I think, because that definitely like Vietnam, like old war movies. And
Hmm.
it says like, what is it, like monkey killer and like all these little
Endangered
nicknames and
species and
right.
all kind
That
of
was
different
cool,
things.
man. And real quick, I love the little kind of opening crawl they do where
Oh yeah, they
they
give you a little
reference all the
synopsis.
movies. Yeah, I love that. I
Yeah,
love that too.
Rise was bold, and then Dawn was bold,
Yeah,
and then War
that
is
was
bold.
cool.
Yeah.
Kind of reminded me, I think it's been a minute since I've watched it, but I think Blade Runner 2049 kind of does something like that where not exactly, but they kind of catch you up if you hadn't seen the other one in a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of liked that.
Because
But yeah,
they
they
knew a
made
lot of people would go into 2049 not having seen the original. So
mm-hmm,
yeah.
or been a minute
But yeah,
for them.
there's I guess what they're trying to do is trying to set you up. Look, war for the Planet of the Apes, right? So the first thing you
Mm-hmm,
have to see is soldiers versus apes. Um, so right before basically they ambush the apes, you see they have some donkeys, as they call them. And it's some apes that are
mm-hmm.
working for the humans. They are helping them locate them, helping them carry equipment and stuff like that. And that was kind of, I remember the first time I saw that, I was like, oh, they have some working for them. So that was kind of neat to see.
That caught me by surprise. That was something I forgot about. I forgot they had done that. That was interesting, and obviously, we find out that the apes that are on the human side were the ones that were for Koba.
Right. They were Koba's crew. Yep. You find that
Right.
out after the
So,
battle after the little skirmish is done. They have what, two humans hostage, and they have Red Donkey, the big gorilla.
mm-hmm,
Um, and Caesar's like, yeah, I know these apes. They were with Koba, tried to kill me, blah blah blah.
right.
So,
And
and
yeah.
no, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I like all these sweeping moves of the camera. Like you get overhead views, you get side views
Mm-hmm.
of just all this aerial, like not air, it's in shots in the air of all this battle back and forth, back and forth. The apes base looks really cool. All the wood that are
Mm-hmm.
kind of twisted around. And then when you finally get the reveal of Caesar, it's very gladiator-esque. Like they're all like
Yeah,
they
he's
part the
walking
sea
through
for
and they're
him.
all
Yeah, and they're all bowing before him and like making room for him. Very similar to Gladiator. I got kind of those thoughts when I was seeing it, and the CGI is even better. I think
well, yeah,
like
it's progressively the
it's
technology has gotten so much better.
right. Yeah, I mean it's really good. Like just looking at the different apes. And Caesar talks more. He's a little
Hmm.
more fluid in his speech now because one of the first lines he says, I wrote it down, is he says, "I did not want this war. The ape that did is dead. Toba.
Hmm. I
I
killed
killed
him.
him. Now I find something about I find a way to protect apes. Or no, I fight only to protect apes. That's what it
Hmm.
is. But he still takes breaks in between his speech patterns to keep it the continuity from the others. But he's talking more.
Yeah,
Like
there's no doubt.
like noticeably, yeah.
Hmm.
Mhm. So I appreciated that
And
of it.
that's part of what was brilliant about the trilogy is how each one you see more and more progression um,
Mm-hmm.
through the apes and their all of their intelligence, but especially Caesar. So
Right.
so Caesar basically kind of like a peace offering. He wants the colonel to know, who's played by Woody Harrelson. He wants him to
Mm-hmm.
know that he wants peace, so he lets his guys go. Right? He
Right.
like they are the message, is what they say. You're not going to send a message; they are the message.
Mm-hmm.
And so you would think that that would be, okay, maybe they aren't savages or whatever, but no. The very next scene is humans invading the base.
Right.
Yeah,
Man,
and that's a tough one, man.
dude, that I almost didn't I almost didn't like it with the I mean I in the moment I was like they went too far, man. Like they took everything. What's
Right.
oh man, his wife and the
Yeah,
way
I
they do
remember
it,
being
like how he
shocked.
dude that and I think that's one of the reasons why I wasn't as big of a fan, but now a lot of times passed, I went back, revisited. I knew that was gonna happen.
Hmm.
And I appreciated it more because from then on he is on a quest.
Oh
Like
yeah.
one chapter of his life is done. Um, but the way they do it, it's kind of slows down. You have to barely see the troops coming down through the waterfall. You see
Hmm.
the green lights, and he acts quick. It's not like he waits 20 minutes like in some movies. He as soon as he sees it, he's whispering to the guys. He's moving fast and quiet.
Hmm.
But unfortunately, his wife and his older son don't make it out.
Right.
And
And Woody Harrelson thought he had
dude,
killed Caesar because
that was heartbreaking.
he says King Kong is down, and it's not until
King Kong is dead. Mm-hmm.
he's about to extract whenever it's like he can feel it. He can just feel
Right.
Caesar. So he turns around and he can just tell the way he's looking at him, like, holy crap, that's him. And he kind of
Uh huh.
glances at the family, and Caesar realizes what he's looking at. And then, yeah, it all goes
Very,
downhill from there.
very well shot. And so much of it is non-verbal. Like a lot of this stuff
Hmm.
you're talking about, it's just
Yeah, there's no words
looks in the
spoken. Yeah.
eyes. It's very well done. It could almost be a silent movie if they wanted to, like the way they shot it, man.
Yes.
Really well done with that. And Woody Harrelson, I feel, is great because he's a villain that you get a little bit of him at the beginning, and then you really don't get him again till the end. But he carries a weight with him to where you kind of get a feeling of how he is, even though he's not on screen that much.
Hmm.
He's got a wariness in his face that Woody Harrelson just has that. So I know why they casted him. They needed kind of like somebody that had history without us seeing all that history. You could buy that he's a soldier that's lost everything and this is his final, you know what I mean? I really
Producer Nick
liked that
doesn't
way
like
they went
him.
with him.
You heard?
I, I yes, I don't, I don't get it. I don't get it. He's just
I
got
just had
that
to
in his
take another
face,
shot,
man.
Nick. Yeah.
No, Woody Harrelson is great, man.
Yeah. So yeah, Woody Harrelson kills his wife and his son, Blue Eyes, but he, I guess the baby was able to get away, and so
Cornelius.
Cornelius. So he didn't kill Cornelius. Um, because he was freaking out looking for him or whatever, and he finds him. So that's good. Um, but
And
then,
being a father now, seeing that scene,
oh, I
and then
know it's rough.
when he finally sees, it's like, okay, I can breathe. I
Hmm.
have some of my family. I can breathe for a second.
Yeah.
And is that the same? Is that supposed to be the same Cornelius that's later on in the old ones, or
No,
is
I
he just
don't.
named after him?
I think they just kind of took the names, just like the girl.
Yeah,
They call her Nova, okay,
right,
but that's obviously not the girl that's going to be in Kingdom, who they call Nova. So I'm not quite sure
right,
how they're going to do that. It's almost like they were taking some names from the originals,
hmm, right.
and maybe they did not have a plan to do more. And now that they are, it's kind of like, well, we're gonna have some George Lucas kind of let's retcon some stuff and pretend like it was all part of the plan, you know?
Right.
So,
Um. Uh. Yeah.
oh, you notice my
It could be
shirt?
one.
Before we go any further, you notice my shirt?
Oh, that. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. We talked about that the other day.
Even though it's not Planet of the
Awesome.
Apes, it's the only monkey on a shirt that I had. So I just went
It's
ahead and
it's apes
threw,
related.
yeah, threw on
Yeah,
Gas Monkey. That's not
that's
far from you.
hilarious. Uh-uh.
So anyway, where were we?
No. So the names. I mean, it might be like a loose thing, or maybe it's just kind of like later those characters will be named after these characters, kind of thing. It's like being
Yeah,
named
who
after your
knows?
great great grandfather or something.
Yeah.
Um. But so that opening was the opening war stuff was cool, and then obviously the big thing that happens with Caesar, and then it kind of starts to slow down a little bit. It really does feel like a novel, like the way it's paced, because you have big moments and you have character building moments and you have a lot of traveling. It feels like it was adapted from a novel, and I know it wasn't. um so did you kind of see that? Like, it kind of felt
Yeah,
like a
yeah, it
novel.
it it it
Yeah.
kind of does. Now that you say it, absolutely, I can see that,
Uh-huh.
Mr. Teacher. But so
um
after this, so now it's like,
mhm.
okay, now they know that Caesar knows they have to leave. So he
Right.
sends he wants everybody else to go looking for another home, and but he is
Hmm.
going, he's got to get some revenge. So he's gonna go
Right.
look for the colonel. And
Hmm.
he wants to go alone. Of course, Rocket and Maurice want to go with him. He's like, no, they need you here. And so he
Right.
leaves by himself. And here comes Rocket, Maurice, and I can't remember the gorilla's name that was with him.
It's like Luca or something. It starts with the L, I think.
Yes, Luca,
But yeah,
Luca. Yep.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, he's
So
the big muscle ape. Yeah,
yep. So he's got some
gorilla.
backup. And I see
Mm-hmm.
what you're saying about a novel. Now it's like um a journey. It's like a journey
Mm-hmm.
movie at this point, because now they have to go try to find the human base so he can take out Woody Harrelson. Yep. And the first town they
Right,
come
and then
to,
the story breaks off.
oh, I'm sorry. Well, at the first town they come to is where they meet Nova.
Right, and the story kind of diverges, right? Because then you have the main, the main just of the apes, with Cornelius and with the caretaker he leaves him with, going off to go towards the desert, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like moving out, and almost getting kind of vibes of like the forbidden area, like in the originals, like how
Mm-hmm.
there's a forbidden area, then it's their area. Um, there's something with that there. But yeah, so they break off and you don't really see them much. And you spend a majority of the time with, our main leads. Kind of a little bit of Empire Strikes Back too, because you're not with all the rebels, you're just with a select few. The story kind of diverges. Lord of the Rings
And
kind of did that
and you
too.
get some
Um,
snow.
Dude, the apes in the snow look amazing. Like, oh man, and there's mystery because all of a sudden they come across these human soldiers that are buried, and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
what the heck is going on? It's not
And
straightforward. There's like,
one of them was still alive,
yeah,
but he couldn't speak. So there's a little bit of
yeah,
so there's a reveal there where you're like, oh, so it's starting to happen
mm-hmm.
now,
It's starting to
which
happen. Yeah,
there was no inclination of that before, and that's the first time you see
right.
that. Yeah.
And you're referencing them building towards humans not being able to talk, which is how it was in the Charlton Heston movies. So
Correct.
yeah, that was interesting. And then that's indicated by the blood on the mouth, which comes into play later in the movie. Which I thought that, and I like how it's getting revealed through mystery. Like Caesar doesn't really know everything that's going on, and I like that. And we also see Caesar take out that guy too. He shoots that guy when they come across that little village.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's Nova's.
Yeah.
I don't know. They never really say if it was her dad or she was just with him.
Right.
But Caesar has to kill him because he tried to kill Rocket.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, so anyway, so they're still on their journey,
Yeah.
and while they get to the snow and all this good stuff, this is where they meet Bad Ape.
Oh, yeah.
And that's your boy Steve Zahn.
Yeah, and it totally sounds like him. Like there's no question on who's playing
Yeah,
that.
because I forgot who it was, and as I was going through this, I'm like, who is that again? And I looked it up, and I was like, Steve Zahn.
That high-pitched squeaky. Yeah.
Bad Ape. No, Bad Ape. Yeah.
Yeah. And when I was first watching it, and that ape, because you don't know it's an ape quite at first because it's kind of covered up,
And he's wearing clothes.
Down.
He's
wearing clothes. I thought, like, man, that would have been cool if it was revealed to be one of the humans from the second movie. Like I had that thought in my head. I was like, whoa, and then he could kind of be like, look, this is what's going on. But then the way they did it was cool too.
Mm-hmm.
But because there's not, those human characters, they don't really say how much time's passed, but you can assume it's been another several years.
No, they say in your opening call, they say it's been 15
oh, that's
years.
right.
Well, it was 15 years since Rise.
From the first one. Yeah.
Right.
So it's been another 5.
So it's been another 5.
It's been another 5. Yeah. Right. But no, yeah. So they introduced that character, and he starts talking about, well, there was a human zoo. Like, what? Is that like a FEMA camp? And he said that's where they were keeping the sick,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like that's where they were quarantining them, basically.
Yep.
And I was like, dang, that's like you're getting more of the story revealed through an unreliable monkey, so I liked getting pieces of it. And then that's kind of when they figure out that the Northern forces are going to unite, right? To take out the rest of the apes. Is that around that time?
No. What? So the whole time, Caesar is thinking that this colonel and this group was the Northern forces after him. It's not revealed until later on.
That's
that, right. What's his name? Woody Harrelson is Rogue. That he's basically doing his own thing, going against orders. So the Northern forces are coming to take him out. But you don't realize that. You don't realize that till much later.
You realize that part later. That's right.
Yeah. So they're starting to scout. They find they convince Bad Ape to take him there, and they're scouting, and then they come across some humans, and they end up in a little tussle, and that's whenever Luca gets shot, saving Caesar.
That's right.
Again.
Yes. Again. Yes.
Yeah. So and it was a touching little sad moment because Nova and him had started to kind of bond, and he had gotten her the little flower, put in her hair, and then she put it in his hair when he was dying. So it's a sweet little moment. Kind of
like how Maurice was getting those moments with the human in the second movie.
In the second one, yeah.
And man, those shots of the apes, like with the sunset behind them on the horses, I can't get enough of that. Like those are some awesome shots.
Well, the apes on horses are awesome no matter what. It's just it's a cool visual, and it's because if you go back to like my wife will not watch Planet of the Apes because the original one scared the bejesus out of her when she was a kid. Watching, because apparently she was really young when she saw it, and the apes hunting humans and then stuffing them in the museum and all that stuff, and it just freaks my wife out. So, and then of course them riding horses. So it's just, I guess ever since that movie, it's always been just really cool to think about, the apes riding horses and having weapons and all that stuff.
Oh yeah. And the original one from the 60s, that's the one I've watched the most. Like I remember in high school, I'd watch that all the freaking time. And I still remember falling asleep to the menu, and then it would show the different ape faces on the DVD.
I was
But
an
yeah,
adult. I was an adult the first time I saw it. I knew nothing about it.
okay,
And I think it was playing on AMC or something, and I just decided to watch it. And it was one of those things I was blown away by the end. I was like, they were on Earth the whole time. Like it
best
never, you know, I got
one of the
that
best reveals.
I got that moment, I got to live that as an adult. It
That
was
was
pretty neat.
Yeah, I think I was like 15 because I discovered it. My dad had showed it to me in high school, and yeah, that's. I mean, if you can watch a movie from the 60s and the 90s, it's a good movie.
Yeah, it's a good movie. So anyway, so after the gorilla dies and everything, that's
Hmm.
whenever they realize that, or they go to get a closer look, and Caesar, through the binoculars or whatever, he
Right.
sees his people or his apes, and then he's like, "What the hell?" And then didn't he get knocked out or something like that? Like they capture him.
Yeah, and are you talking about when sees them strung up? Is that yet? Or no,
Yes,
that's
yes, he sees
yes.
him strung up, but then he looks at the binoculars and he sees more, and then he gets attacked or
Oh,
something like that.
he gets. Is that when he gets hit by the big gorilla that's working for Woody Harrelson?
Red Donkey.
Yeah, Red Donkey. Yeah. Um, that was crazy because you're thinking this whole time, okay, well, at least they have made it because they're after
Right.
Caesar more so. Um, but then you realize that, they got ambushed as well. We just didn't
Mm-hmm.
see that, which is again kind of like a first person novel. You didn't see that part happen until
Yeah.
Caesar learns about it. Yeah. Um,
Yep.
so that was a crazy twist because you didn't know. You're like, well, man, it's like, did Caesar make the right choice? Because they're losing right now, bad.
Mm-hmm.
So
And that's what they want you to feel, So
mhm.
Caesar, at this point, he's now captured, and Woody, I keep saying Woody because I don't know his name. They just call him
uh
there's no
they
name, it's
call him the
just
colonel.
the
Yeah,
Colonel. So
which is very
they
80s to do.
they just use him, he uses him as like an example. Like he shows him
Hmm.
strung up, tortures him basically, and all this good stuff
Right.
to break him down so he can have control over all the apes. And kind of the whole time you're wondering, until you've seen the movie, you don't really realize, like, why doesn't he just kill him? Like,
Right.
what is he doing? But then you realize it's all about labor. He needs
Uh-huh.
the ape labor to continue building up his fortification of his base or whatever, because he
Right.
knows he's about to get attacked.
Hmm. And
So
he wants the apes to see that he's taken out their king, right?
correct, yeah,
But
like
if
he's
he
in
kills the
charge.
right, but it's delicate because if he kills the king, he might lose them all.
Right. He needs him to be
So
broken. Yep.
he needs him to be broken. That's a good way to put it. And um the conversation that they're having back and forth, really interesting. Like when he's prisoner and they're
Mm-hmm.
talking, wondering why he's doing this. And then Woody shares his side about, is that yet about the how
Yeah,
his
he
family
because he lets
his
him know how
around that time.
his family and all that good stuff. And I think he even tells him about how he lost his child to
Yes.
whatever it is, the regression that human beings are starting to uh, feel, or it's starting to
Hmm.
affect, where they become unable to speak and whatever else.
Yeah, and he's
So,
so sold out to his belief that
yep,
he killed his son for it because his son was starting to devolve, I guess.
yep.
And,
Devolve. That's a good word. Devolve. Yeah.
he took his yeah, he took him out because he doesn't want the disease to spread. So as
Mm-hmm.
brutal as he is, you kind of understand where he's coming from. And then as long as these apes are around, I kind of took it as, well, that disease is in the apes. It's just not hurting it's making the apes stronger.
Correct.
So if Woody plays nice with the apes, the humans are going to go away because that disease is still there via the apes. So he has to take the apes out. Like
Mm-hmm.
you could see both sides of it, but then
Well,
obviously
that's
Caesar, who
that's the
spent most
beauty of
yeah
post-apocalypse type movies, there's all
Uh-huh.
or shows, there's always you see both sides. Like you understand
Yeah.
whoever the protagonist and the antagonist is, there's always like, well, but could it be this way?
Yeah.
Like who's really wrong,
It's interesting because we're more on Caesar's side because we've spent 3 movies with him.
Hmm.
Um, but for us to even for a second be like, oh, I kind of get where Woody's coming from, and he's only in this movie. That's good writing. That's strong because if you were in his shoes, you want to keep the human race alive. You can't keep the apes around
What would you do? Yeah,
because.
right.
But then Caesar has a family, and he's more than just an ape, and we sympathize with him. So it's a really good back and forth between the two of them. And they both can't coexist because one's killing the other
Hmm.
inadvertently or directly. So I appreciated that aspect of it. That was awesome. That was really good writing.
Yeah, so let's see, what do I have written next? Okay, so we and I'm assuming everybody who's watching this has seen the movie. So you have the whole back and forth, and he's
Mm-hmm.
slowly getting his bearings back and all this good stuff. Okay. So let's just fast forward to it's time.
Mm-hmm.
The military shows up, the real military shows up, and all hell's starting to break loose.
Right.
And that is right as they are starting to make the apes are starting to make their escape. They figure out a way to
Mm-hmm.
tunnel and get them out and go up and all this good stuff. And right as they're doing all of that is when the attack comes in, and it's
Uh-huh.
first light. All the sirens are going off, all this good stuff, and everybody's like, "Where's the colonel? Where's the colonel? Where's the colonel?" And
That was
that's
awesome.
yeah, that's whenever Caesar makes it up to his quarters and discovers him drinking and not able to speak.
Dude, that was amazing.
I wasn't
Because
waiting
you
for that. I remember in the theater, I was like, "Holy crap!" Like
yeah,
that was a big reveal.
that
That was a
was
big
that
deal.
was amazing, man. And like you see the blood, and again, they already set up that when you start seeing the blood on their mouth, oh, they're losing their speech. That
Hmm.
disease is
It's
doing its
progressing.
thing,
Yeah, yeah.
progressing. Yeah, and and then you see the bear that the little girl Nova had, and she can't talk. So at some point, he came into contact with that little doll or bear or whatever,
Hmm.
and now
And he
he's
got it.
done.
Yep.
He's done. Like he's defeated. Like it
Because
doesn't
remember,
matter
he
what.
picked up the bear was in the cage with Caesar, and he picks it up. He says, "Where does this come from?"
Right. So then he
Yeah.
had possession of it, and then yeah, that whole reveal when it shows you the little doll,
Hmm.
um and then Caesar confronts him, um and the colonel wants him to take him out. He
Right. He
puts the
puts the
gun
gun
toward.
to his head, and Caesar's like,
Yeah.
"No, no, partner, you do it."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, Caesar's struggling. He's crying. He's got the killer, the man who killed his family, but
Hmm.
he's almost like
Sympathetic.
sympathetic towards the person that killed your family because you see now, well, he's a losing. There's no one on top in this movie.
Hmm.
They're all just survivors. Nobody's doing awesome. Like they're all just live. They're all kind of screwed, right? Like
Yep.
their lives are not. There's no hanging out, and getting a drink and hanging out. Their life's over. It's just this war that's taking everybody out slowly.
Hmm.
And the colonel does keep with his ideology, and he pulls the trigger on himself
Yeah. As Caesar's
because
walking out, you hear bang. Yeah.
yeah, he does it to himself. And you know, I get it because if he wouldn't have offed himself, then he'd be kind of a hypocrite because he's living with the disease that's killing people.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? He killed his son to contain it. So he's got to do it to contain it so he doesn't spread it.
Right.
Um, but that was more exciting than all the fighting going back and forth in the background. Like those scenes. I mean, Woody Harrelson is probably only in 20 minutes, but
Yeah,
he's
he
felt
doesn't
throughout the
have a
whole
whole
thing.
lot of screen time, but man, when he's on screen, it's impactful because you don't
Right.
know
You
what
hear
he's
that,
gonna
producer
do.
Nick?
Yeah, you don't know what he's gonna
Oh,
do. He's
you
very
don't.
unpredictable. So after he offs himself and he's
Mm-hmm.
no longer in the movie, well, now Caesar has to escape, right?
Right.
So Caesar is trying to get out, and he sees an opportunity to blow up. There's like a gas truck or something, or a tanker
Mm-hmm.
that where they're shooting at the they're actually, don't they start shooting at the apes or something like that?
Yeah, they're start in the trees and stuff, right?
Yeah, so
Uh-huh.
Caesar goes to, throw like a thing of grenades, huh? Like a belt of
Yeah, he
grenades or something like that on it.
right that he picks up,
Yeah, and
and
Red Donkey ends up helping him,
he's
like stopping the human from shooting him, or he jumps in front of the bullet when the human's about to shoot
right,
Caesar, because he realizes, okay, look what I've done and all
right.
this good stuff, because the machine gunners were focusing. That's what it was. They were fighting the humans, and then when they saw the apes were escaping, they started shooting at the apes, is what it
That's what it
was.
was. Okay. And
Yeah.
then yeah, he has a change of heart in the 11th hour.
Mm-hmm.
He does the right thing for his side.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And takes a
and
bullet. But while
right.
Caesar goes to throw the grenades,
Mm-hmm.
he gets shot with an arrow from the very human that he let go at the beginning.
That's poetic. Yeah.
Yep.
That's that's something there. Yeah. So where he showed mercy, he didn't get it in
Correct.
at least with him. Um, so that okay, so it's kind of the beginning of the end now for him. You kind of see
Hmm.
what's going on and what's happening, and then for the most part, they escape into the trees and they start to venture onto the new area,
Right.
right?
Well, no, no, they go into the trees, and then the
Right.
humans start to really battle it out, and they cause an avalanche.
Oh, that's yeah. Sorry, I kind
Yeah,
of
and the
wanted
and the
to hear that last part.
avalanche, yeah, the avalanche basically wipes out all of the soldiers, and they were high enough in the trees that they survived the avalanche. So at that
Mm-hmm.
point, that's whenever they get on the road, they can start to try to find their new home. And I mean,
Right.
I'm guessing it's supposed to be a few days or something like that, because they travel far enough to where the weather changes.
That's true.
So, they
Yeah.
must go far enough south to where they're out of the harsh winter. Um, and
Right.
he's kind of holding his side, and they're
Mm-hmm.
letting you know, okay, it's coming.
Right.
Um, so they get to their destination, they find this beautiful area, and they're like, okay, this is where we're gonna make our home. And so all the apes and the children, for lack of a better term,
Mm-hmm.
start, the young apes, whatever you want to call them, start playing and
Right.
all this good stuff. And Caesar, I don't remember what his exchange was with Maurice, but it was basically, we're home type of
and
thing.
and Maurice basically tells him, your legacy will live on. They'll know who
Well,
brought them
yeah,
here. They'll
once he
know who.
realizes he's dying, but Caesar's talking
Mm-hmm.
to him at first, and it's not until he kind of like falls over a little bit, and Maurice is like, "What the hell's going on?" And he sees the blood,
Right.
and yeah, all that good stuff. Yeah,
Right. And
it's heartbreaking, because, like I said,
mm-hmm.
Caesar in this trilogy is like one of the greatest characters in cinema history, in my opinion. And it's tough to see him go out like that, by,
Yeah.
like you said, by somebody who he showed mercy to basically be his undoing.
Yeah. Um, I mean, but to be honest though, I kind of felt that from the opening scene, when well, not the opening scene, but the beginning when his family gets taken out. It kind of feels like he's getting towards the latter end of his life and he's brought the apes so far. I mean, you go back to the first movie of this new trilogy. I mean, it seems like it's ages ago when he
I
was
know.
living in a neighborhood like that sounds like a I mean, so he's those three movies, like he moved mountains. And um there's a Moses parallel, like to get biblical for a second. Like
Oh yeah,
he's
yeah.
able to see he's able to see the promised land, but not go to it and not live there. But like he paved the way for them to be there. Um, there's definitely he's like I said before, like kind of loosely, he's like their god or like lowercase g, like their thing, but he's more like their prophet. Like he's like Moses. You
Hmm.
know, he leads them to this land where they can start a new, but he can't be there.
Right.
But his son gets to be there. It's very very deep. Like whoever thinks sci-fi is just aliens and guns, they need to watch this.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of trash
This
sci-fi
is
out there
deep.
now. There's a whole TV station dedicated to trash sci-fi. But no, this is a little more than just science fiction. This is good
It
stuff.
is, man.
It's good
It
stuff.
is. I mean, going back to what we talked about in all these movies, like when he has the collar around his neck and he's like, "Am I a pet?" Like, there's deep
Yeah.
writing going on here. Um, but yeah, he's definitely, he brings them to the promised land. His era is over, but
Hmm.
the new era will begin with what the young apes, his son among them, what they will do. Like their forefathers that died to give them this, and then
Hmm.
it's up to them to build a kingdom. We'll see where that goes.
Well, and look, here's where we're gonna do a little bit of predicting. Um,
Okay.
I'm predicting that the main character, I don't remember his name in the new one, is gonna be a descendant of Caesar. Um, just
Mm-hmm.
from indication of he's got the little birthmark type thing right here. So I think that's,
Okay.
you're supposed to kind of take away, and I'm more than sure it's gonna be revealed, but I'm thinking he's gonna be a descendant. And he even kind of
Mm-hmm.
looks like Caesar when you look at the way his character face. It looks a lot like Caesar. So
Well, and I've really, I'm not able to do this a lot because I look at movie stuff all the time. But I've saw like little. I haven't really even seen the full trailer. I've seen little
right,
clips. I'm trying to stay away from it to go in a little
right.
fresh.
They're good. They're
But yeah,
putting out a lot of little clips there, and it seems like there's a lot of reveals in those clips, and I've stayed away from
yeah,
them.
I've stayed away too. And sometimes movies get spoiled for me just because I look up movie stuff when as a hobby. And but I've managed to stay away, and I only have like another week to go. So, but yeah.
Ooh. So something that happened since we did the last one. The guy who's
Mm-hmm,
playing Proximus Caesar, who is like the new ruler in this one, where
mm-hmm,
he's kind of, he's going to be, I guess, the bad guy. Um,
right.
remember we talked about him. I forget his name, but he is in Mystery Alaska. He's a real big guy. Well, he is going to Texas Frightmare. So
Oh
I'm gonna get.
wow.
So the movie's gonna drop next Friday. I'll watch the movie,
Uh-huh.
and then the following Friday, that weekend, which is the 17th through the 19th, is Texas Frightmare. So I'm gonna watch the movie, and then I'm gonna get to meet him right
That's
after.
awesome. Wow. What are the chances of that?
I know I got real excited.
That's
Real
really cool,
excited.
man.
Is it Kevin Durand? Is that his name? Yes, Kevin
I'm
Durand.
not sure. Okay.
Yep.
Well, cool, man.
He's playing Proximus Caesar. So that's gonna be. I'm excited to meet him. It's
Yeah.
gonna be neat.
He's that especially right after.
Hmm.
That's really cool.
But
Well,
yeah,
cool,
so
man.
my prediction is she is one of the astronauts from the launch that gets lost.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, we talked about it. It was in Rise, but that's the only
Right.
um,
Reference.
reference to it. So she's got to be because she speaks. She's wearing regular clothes and all that good stuff.
Right.
So it's very much she's the new Charlton Heston. So I think we're gonna this movie, if it's successful and they do two more, it'll be kind of like the original loop of the original five, where
Yeah.
it's the end of the last one should be kind of like, the beginning of the first one type thing.
Yeah, which is cool. Yeah. Um, and yeah, she's definitely has to be like one of the new astronauts because here in this one we just watched, the humans are losing their voice. There's
Right.
there's going to be very few. It's another, I don't know how many more years, but it's got to be
It's
another 5 to 10
500.
years.
It's five. No, no, it's
Oh, it's
500.
500. I
Yeah.
forgot. Okay,
That's why I say a descendant of
that's
Caesar.
right.
Like
Right.
this is way past. So,
I
and
forgot it was that much
if
ahead.
you think about it, what it looks like is the humans, while they're not killed off by the disease anymore, I guess they developed kind of like an immunity. They don't die, but they still
Yeah.
can't speak.
Yeah, there's always going to be a remnant that survives, but
Right.
obviously they can't speak. So
They can't speak. And that's why they're so enamored. They basically get enamored by her because she can speak and the others can't. So
yeah, so it'll very much be very it'll be interesting to compare the new one to the
the
original
original, yeah,
because
it's
it'll be
probably
closer.
gonna be like a soft reboot of the original. Is basically what
Yeah,
we're getting.
I can see that. Um, good. Well, yeah, that's exciting to to
Except
witness that.
there's no nuclear bombs, and she's not gonna say you blew it all up. You're not gonna get all that stuff.
Uh, yeah,
Remember,
yeah,
that was
you're
the
right because it's a
way
different.
they don't really. I don't think they ever really say. I take that back. It's nuclear war is what destroys the humans in the original movies. Um,
Right. And
because
then the
remember
apes just kind of take over.
that was the big fear in the 50s and 60s
Yeah,
and all that good stuff was nuclear war. So nuclear war is what killed off the humans, and apes basically evolved into what they
right.
became just through natural evolution. It wasn't
Right.
anything. This series takes it the medical way or the
Uh-huh.
type thing.
But it's still our fault, like it is in
Absolutely.
the
No
other.
matter what,
So
it's humans'
yeah,
fault. Yes.
it's still humans' fault, but it's a different route they went. But I like we've talked about this before, but I kind of like how what killed us off made them stronger more in a more direct sense because it was that serum.
Hmm.
Um, I like that. So yeah, we'll see where this one goes. So we'll see apes in full control, running their own community, like very established. Um, they've got to have their armor because that's what's missing.
Oh,
They're not
it
wearing.
looks like they have some. It looks
Okay,
like they may have some in this one.
yeah, so they should because in these movies, they're on horseback. They have guns now, but they hadn't had armor yet. So
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
expecting armor.
Caesar has he's wearing like a belt or something. They definitely have like clothing and stuff like that. I
Yeah.
don't really remember if it's armor, but he also wears a crown.
Okay. Cool. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm expecting to see that. I'm just expecting to see societies and schools and like young ones and old ones and community, and then the human obviously being the
Right.
outsider.
I just think that
So yeah.
Proximus is more of a dictator than a leader.
Okay.
Is basically what I think. I think it's more of
Right.
a what is it, a monarchy or whatever? Like it's more like that.
Right.
Not necessarily dictator, but more like he's a king. So
Huh.
whatever he says goes type thing.
Right. Well, we'll see. Is Andy Serkis involved at all? I mean, obviously he's
I
not
don't
playing
think
Caesar, but
so. I don't think
so he's
he is.
okay.
Mm-mm.
I would have liked to hear that he's like at least kind of shepherding because he freaking knows how to do act in that digital stratosphere.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, maybe he might be a consultant or something,
that's
but
what I'm saying, like some kind of voice. Um,
yeah,
but yeah,
he's
we'll
not
see.
listed anywhere in the cast or anything. So yeah, I don't think he's in it as far as
Okay,
acting. Yeah.
gotcha. Well, yeah, if they nail this one, they'll definitely make it. It'd be nice to have two sequels to this, so it kind of has a second trilogy
Yeah.
of everything that happens post Caesar. So yeah, we'll see what happens, man. The weird thing is how will they end this one? How will they end Kingdom?
I don't know.
Will the I don't know if will they yeah, we'll see. Because with the other ones, Charlton Heston kind of he kind of after he
Well,
kind of fades
he
off
was
in
in
the
the
second
second
one
one. He's in
a
Beneath the
little
Planet
bit.
of the Apes, but
Yeah.
doesn't he I don't remember. Does he die? Does he die off or does he time travel back? It's weird
I think
because
I think he dies off when they blow up the planet, right?
is
Don't they pull the
oh
people
yeah,
on.
because they were underground and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that one
It's
was
so
weird,
weird.
man. They're like
Such a weird
worshiping the
movie.
the rockets and stuff. It's
Yeah,
so
yeah.
weird.
Strange movie. Strange movie.
Very strange, man.
Oh.
Um,
All right, man.
yeah.
Well, I might do a small little spoiler-free review, like right after the
Hmm.
movie, a little solo thing. But then
Yeah.
you and I can do a discussion after we've both seen it, and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'd love to do that. Especially being refreshed over these
Yeah,
last
yeah.
few videos. And we
Cool.
did it, man. We got
We
we
got
did
all
this
three of
one
them
before.
out. I'm just gonna have to edit this and get it out before, but I got plenty of time. I got a week and a
Yeah,
half. We're good.
perfect.
All
Awesome,
right,
man.
guys. Well, with that, we're gonna sign off. Please like, subscribe, tell your friends, and catch us when we come back to talk about Kingdom of the Planet. Yeah, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. So long.